This cemetery was associated with the Pleasant Grove Methodist Church, built in 1832. The ground here was given by Isaac and Nancy Sharp, some of the first settlers in here. The church is no longer here. It was moved in 1964. But there was a church here, there was a school here, and eventually a little village grew up around this intersection. Sharp was a War of 1812 veteran, buried in the cemetery here. On his 22nd birthday, he was on a march from Kentucky into Upper Canada against the British under the command of Major General William Henry Harrison, later to become United States President. Harrison at the time was also a territorial governor of Indiana. Indiana became a state in 1816, 4 years after this military campaign. So this is one instance in which Sharp probably saw the land that he eventually bought, even though it hadn't even been surveyed yet at that point. He saw the land, maybe perhaps marched even through it. Came back from the war unscathed apparently, married, brought his family here in 1832, and became quite the public servant, gave land to the cemetery, and began a school and a church. The church at first was called Sharp's Meeting House, even though it wasn't a Quaker church, it was a Methodist. Quakers generally called their churches meeting houses, but for some reason Sharp chose his name as Sharp Meeting House. The first burial of record is a young 2-year-old girl named Elizabeth Hamer, whose family home, by the way, still exists east of here on 116th Street. It's been restored beautifully. She died at 2 years old. Yet another indication of the horrendous child mortality rate of the time. There are, in fact, of record, 32 children buried in here. And if you count the stones that remain, that's nearly a third of the cemetery here. And it was said that children who lived beyond their 4th or 5th birthday, only then did they have a fair chance of surviving. And even after then, of course, there was much child disease for them to bear and to suffer and to survive.